Evening, everyone. Glasses also I can see. Welcome to the Utility Safety and Environment Committee meeting. The first item on the agenda is the approval of the September 22nd, 2021 Utilities Committee meeting minutes. Can I get a motion, please?
So moved, Madam Chair.
It's been moved and properly second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. The next item on the agenda is the matter of the purchase of a Centrax program for traffic management project throughout the city. Mr. Brubaker.
Yes, thank you, Madam Chairwoman. I also have Mr. Showalter here from our Communications Department that, quite frankly, has been the proponent behind this and has already done some pre-work involved with this and has been, the main cog behind it, and I'm going to let him speak to it. This program that we have is going to go up in multiple intersections throughout the city. It's designed to be able to allow us to control traffic flow using cameras, using sitting actually at a desk, watching monitors so you're seeing the traffic flow. So if we have an accident like I talked about on Monday on 57, someone at a desk, Mr. Showalter, police department, will all have access to these videos and this traffic management, and they would be able to go online and just go right in there and start changing the lights so you can't make a left-hand turn and you only go right, and they can extend the time. Like when we have traffic over here for the schools here at West Avenue and 4th Street, or West Avenue and 4th Street. So during the school day, we can adjust that on the spot, on the fly, to allow that traffic to flow through. This would not have, as I stated Monday night, this would not have prevented the motorcycle accident 6-7 weeks ago on the southbound on 57, nor would it have prevented the incident that happened a week and a half ago with the individuals that were hit with the truck. What it would have done was allowed us to flow that traffic a whole lot more, would likely have allowed us to see with video some things that may have happened prior to that accident. Part of this, Council has already approved this through the NOPEC grant. We have about a $207,000 grant through NOPEC that we've worked with to allow them to pay for a portion of this, so the other portion will be determined, provided you folks pass it here tonight to proceed, would be financed to determine. We use ARP, and I know Mr. Showalter has met with the Finance Director Farrell and Finance Director Pileski on the funding on this. This is not a project that if it's approved, this month and the money's appropriated, that it's going to be done in a year. This would probably be a 2-year project. So we would break the payments out over 2 years, although $207,000 would have to be expended by the end of October, which basically means we would just buy some stuff on here and have it in-house so that we get the refund on the grant. But with that being said, I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Showalter. I asked him to, because I know this will be provided, again, you folks decide to pass it here, and I know most of you come to CD and Finance. I asked him to give him a brief description of really what this is from his standpoint versus safety service standpoint. So, Mr. Showalter, if I'll defer, Madam Chairman, with your permission.
Absolutely.
Hello, everybody.
Hi.
We assessed about 44 intersections in the city on the types of equipment that we had out there, and some of the equipment we had out there just won't comply with what we need. The way that this system is designed, it's designed as far as counting cars, and it counts cars in all the directions, and it takes all that data and then basically interprets on what cycle to run at that point in time. It gives us so much more flexibility. Also, there's video cameras, just like the director said, and also built into this is license plate recognition. So what it'll give us, it'll give the police department several tools by going this route, where, like, say if an accident happened, they can actually go back and see the recording on basically how the accident happened. There's also on the license plate recognition, if anybody comes in, that's going to be on the outskirts of the town. So it's like Grafton coming in, anybody coming on 57 and 90, Cleveland Street, anybody that would physically have a warrant camera would pick it up because it's looking at the license plate. They would be notified on their MDTs, and basically then we would go and get them. Also, it also gives them the opportunity to track down vehicles. Let's say that a car left an accident and it was a yellow car. At that point in time, they'll be able to run a program, and then it'll tell you what intersection that a yellow car went through and where it's currently at, and it just gives them tools to make it safer. Not only will it help us on traffic as far as making changes that are needed, but it also will basically help us as far as safety is concerned.
If I may interject, Mr. Shuttleworth, if you'll share with them the areas that you're looking, that you address, by street name.
We've pretty much broke it down into the bypass and our heavily congested areas. Also, there's some downtown intersections like from Broad and Cedar, Middle and Fourth, things like that needed to get addressed. West Avenue and Second, Lake and Gateway. We broke it down into the sections that we felt that were something that needed to be addressed as far as traffic control is concerned. Out there now, we're not counting cars, we're not basically doing vehicle detection. None of that is being done at this point in time because of the age of the intersections. Like if you look at the mall area, we haven't touched them intersections in 25, 30 years. So now it can't adapt to some of the newer technology, so then we have to make some changes in order to make it happen.
And I do want to talk about the cameras. This is not designed, you see traffic cameras, they catch cars if they run. This is not what this is. We're not going to be issuing tickets if someone is speeding.
No, nothing
it's
like
not
that.
picking that up or anything like that.
Mm-mm.
You're not going to have something that's going to take the picture of your license plate and then you're going to get a ticket in the mail because you ran a red light. That's not what this is. When we're talking about, helping, the license plate recognition, again, as he said, for other purposes, but not to give tickets for speeding or traffic.
Also, there would be some monitors that would be installed in our dispatch. So there could be a wall of monitors where we would have 4, 6, 8 monitors that will be broken up by intersection. So if let's say there is a traffic backup because there's an accident, but maybe it didn't get called in yet, somebody calls in and says, hey, why is this traffic so backed up? At that point in time, they would be able to, from dispatch, zoom into a camera, pick right up to that intersection, and they could decide on whether, hey, there was a rear-end collision or something like that happened. We got to get officers out there to take care of the problem.
We visited Westlake multiple times. One of the things they use it for is snow plowing, so they can see intersections that are typically our danger points when we get a heavy snowfall. So this monitors could also be set up at street department where Preston and Keenan are stationed overnight, so they're able to see it. But even before they come in, again, police would have the ability to see intersections. Oh, we got a problem at a bridge, or we got a problem at an intersection. You can make that call to street department to get salt out there.
So guys, how many monitors are we talking about having in multiple locations? That's what it sounds like.
Through you, Madam Chairwoman, we would have them in Mr. Showalter's area. You're only talking a couple TV screens.
Okay.
And maybe 1 or 2 in street department, 1 and 2 in things. So the monitors are a minute cost in this, but it would depend on, like, Mr. Showalter's area would have 3 or 4 because he's looking at it from a broader picture, where street department may have 1 or 2 monitors that has the pictures. You might have 6 cameras on each monitor that they can scan into.
So how does this work? There's an accident at 57 and Cleveland Street, say, and traffic is backing up. How does that work?
There's one camera that gets mounted on the intersection, and not to go too technical into this, you have the ability to basically set presets on the camera. So you could actually just have 4 presets where basically you'd have northbound, and they would hit northbound, and boom, that camera would go right to northbound, southbound, eastbound, westbound, and then also would have the ability to grab a joystick and physically move the camera. They can zoom in and see exactly what's going on at the intersection.
And then they can redirect the traffic?
No, they won't be able to direct the traffic. They will be able to let anybody know that, hey, we need to get an officer out there, or whatever else is concerned.
Mr. Showalter, but you have the capability of changing the light sequencing.
Yes, but you wouldn't want to do that on the fly, is what I'm
Yeah,
going to say.
that's what I was asking.
But we have that, instead of someone going to a box out there that we have, and we have to send a man out there
Sure.
and fight through traffic, they could do that. you know,
Remotely.
yes.
Okay. Okay. Ms. Davis, I saw your hand out.
Through you, Madam Chair. Mr. Showalter, so once the cameras are mounted, and say if I'm headed south on 57 and I pass Gulf Road, and you know they just takes out them poles all the time, how far, and then the traffic is starting to back out, can you be able to see down before I get to Abbott that I took out a pole or something? Or who took out the pole?
I'm not going to be able to see that far, but it can reach out pretty far. It can reach out probably 300 to 500 feet, somewhere around there. I'm not going to be able to identify anything from that distance. It's not really.
But I'm saying though, if the traffic is, because you know those poles, they take them out quite regularly, the traffic will start to back up if I'm headed south.
Right.
So immediately you're going to see that this traffic, I mean, they have hit the poles and they keep going. I saw it with my own eyes.
Sure.
Yep.
And they just keep going.
I know, we have to stand them up all the time.
Yes, I was just wondering how far can you see down when the traffic immediately start backing up?
Like if you're talking about southbound, it would catch just right where before it bends, because the road 57 isn't straight.
Right.
57's like this,
Yeah.
so it can only see so far until the road bends again.
But you would have, Madam Chairman, you would have the capability of looking at it, spinning it around from West River and spinning it around from Gulf. So you may pick something up on the West River one that you didn't pick up on the Gulf one.
Okay. Ms. Keys?
Thank you. Through you, Madam Chair. Mr. Showalter, can the timing of the lights change automatically based on the congestion of a specific intersection, or does that have to be done manually?
It's manually, most like on 57, it's done mostly through Ohio Department of Transportation. What ends up happening is they come in and they count cars, and then based on the counts of the cars, where this system will automatically count the cars for us, so we won't have to pay for somebody to come out and count cars and do a study and then make it. Also, we're working on trying to get involved with Ohio Department of Transportation also, because this is the system that they currently use.
Mm-hmm.
So instead of them having to, then they will be able to come into the system and actually make some changes based on things that they're seeing. There's another part of the program, it's called Signal Performance Measure. It will be done on the Route 57 bypass and corridor, some of the highest areas of travel. Believe it or not, there's about 35,000 cars that actually go down the bypass a day. It's quite a bit. So that signal performance measure, what it does is it counts all the cars in all four directions, and then based for the whole corridor, and then what it does in a 2-week period, it'll say if you implement these changes, it'll increase traffic flow by 30%. Do you want to have that done? Click yes, and it actually will go out there and make them changes on the intersections for you. Another thing that's really beneficial on that is, say if you got a construction project that goes on in the city, well, then the traffic pattern changes because maybe we're directing traffic and now this side street is gaining a bunch of cars. Well, that system will actually pick it up and say, hey, from 3 o'clock in the afternoon to 4:30 in the afternoon, we need to implement a change. Do you want to do it? Click yes. And then when the project's over with and the traffic pattern goes back to normal, then it'll do the same thing, because it's all it's doing is counting cars all the time. And then you say, do you want to click it? And boom. It just saves a lot of time. It's the way of the future.
Wonderful. Thank you.
Very interesting, very interesting. Mr. Brunig?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Is Centrax, is that a company, or is that a description of a software or a hardware type, or what is it?
That's the software.
It's the software, so this is not a specific company or specific vendor? You would still take
there
this
is-
out for...
Yeah, Pathmaster is the company that we go through as far as purchasing things like that, but...
Are they on a state list or anything, Larry, or are they...
Yeah.
They're on the state purchasing list? Okay, that's what I was going for. Thank you.
Thank
One
you.
of the other, Madam Chairman, other beauties about this is, and I know that Cleveland Street from Abbey West to the main intersection there. I know Broad Street is being looked at. As we start to change and redo some of these main thoroughfares, adding to this program is very easy. It's just a matter of when we're bidding those projects, including the hardware, software, or hardware into those projects so we can add the same system, if need be, to those intersections. Okay. So you can add to this as you go when we start making some of these major changes on some of our major thoroughfares.
I know that when you enter a city that has this type of thing, they have signage. Are we going to do the same?
We would do that, yes. I know there's another community right next door to us, Avon. I think they've got or put the stuff in play, but I don't know that they went live with it yet. But we would do that just as a courtesy notification, yes.
Because I know when I drive into Independence, they have signage saying traffic enforcement or whatever.
Right.
So.
Well, again, it won't be traffic enforcement. And
right.
I think we're live. I don't want anybody to think we're going to the cameras for speed and whatnot. That's why I want to be very specific on that. Okay. But it would help with police in regards, that's one of the benefits of this program.
Okay. Thank you. Are there any other questions for Mr. Showalter or Mr. Brubaker? As soon as Mr. Brunick gives me the committee report, I'll read it.
I don't think I put on the thing like I normally do that this would be state purchasing or equal, so.
That's exactly what I was doing.
Thank you, Mr. Brunick.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. We have considered the matter of the purchase of Centrac program for a traffic management project throughout the city through the state purchasing program. Is this going to be an emergency? Because it's...
I did put it on there to say an emergency.
Okay, okay. So this will be an emergency. Okay, may I get a motion, please?
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and properly second. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Thank you, Mr. Showalter. Thank you, Mr. Brubaker. Thank you, sir. Okay, thank you very much. Have a good evening, gentlemen. The next item on the agenda is the matter of authorizing the mayor to advertise for bids and enter into a contract for the purchase and installation of chemical feeders for the water pumping plant. Mr. Jacobs.
Good evening. The chemical feeders for the plant average 14 years old. One of the reasons we want to change them is we're starting to have a lot of breakdowns. We want to be proactive and get all the feeders changed. Second of all, we're in the process of getting the capacity of the water plant increased from 22 million gallons a day to 30 million gallons a day, so we can approach some other cities about selling millions of gallons of water a day. And we need to get new feeders that are capable of delivering 30 million gallons chemical for a feed up to 30 million gallons a day with the backups. The preliminary engineer's estimate is about $350,000, which we have in our budget. It's for caustic soda, aluminum, chlorohydrate, potassium permanganate, phosphate, polymer, carbon storage, tank improvements, a second fluoride feeder, and this would be for the purchase of the feeders and the installation and the computer programming.
Thank you, Mr. Jacobs. Are there any questions for Mr. Jacobs?
Through the chair, the money is in this year's budget for this.
Yes.
We did a lot of the engineering is being done in-house, and we have a small firm that's helping us with some of the other technical parts. It's at the EPA now to get approval. So.
Thank you. Ms. Davis?
But through you, Madam Chair, so how long is this going to take if you use the same company that's already doing work or another outside company? How long is this going to take to change over?
Well, it'd have to be bid out and see what company they pick to provide the feeders. We'll probably specify one feeder and let them, bid anything else also. To get new equipment, your guess is good as mine. We've seen things come in quick, and we've seen other things, 3, 4, 5 months. But this is winter work, because it's all inside, so, we'd like to get it done as soon as possible. And I did forget to put on here, to pass as an emergency, if
Okay.
possible.
Thank you, Mr. Jacobs. Are there any other questions for Mr. Jacobs? Seeing none, I'll read the committee report. We have considered the matter of the purchase and installation of chemical feeders for the water pumping plant and recommend the request be an emergency, and this is an ordinance authorizing the mayor to advertise for bids and enter into an agreement for the purchase and installation of said equipment for the water pumping plant. May I get a motion, please?
So moved, Madam Chair.
Second.
It's been moved and properly second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. The next item on the agenda is the matter of authorizing the mayor to enter into an agreement for the purchase, to purchase Hatch Turbidite Meters and Lab Turbidite Meters for the water pumping plant. Mr. Jacobs.
Through you, Madam Chairman. The Turbidite meters are compliance meters. They're on all 10 of our filters and a couple other locations. They measure the dirtiness of the water leaving the plant. Just for an example, if you look at a glass of your tap water, that's probably 0.08 turbidity units.
Turbidity.
The water coming into the plant could be 200 units when it's dirty. So for the EPA, the water coming through each filter has to be monitored with a turbidity unit and recorded on the SCADA, and that information is kept for years. The units we have now are, I believe, 13 years old. There's newer units out. This is now the state of the art. The units we have now won't be supported after 2022. Again, we're trying to be proactive and get these replaced. It's a like-for-like replacement. They can just pull the old unit out, screw the new unit in, and put new hoses and things are. And it's also for the desktop units the 2 labs at the plant use. Every hour they have to hand record readings on the turbidity, the raw turbidity coming in, a couple processes throughout the plant, and the tap leaving the plant. And that has to be done by a live person on this piece of equipment. So if we get the new meters, we have to get the new benchtop units. And the installation will be done by the plant staff, and this is in our budget also.
Mr. Brunick.
Thank you, Mrs. Mitchell. Mr. Jacob, I'm going to ask you the same question I asked Mr. Brubaker for the last matter. This hack or hatch or however you say it, is that a specific vendor?
Yes.
And I think you sort of said it because this is like for like. Is this a sole source that we're dealing with? They're the only ones who can. I'm just trying to figure out because it's $80,000. Normally we'd have to solicit competitive bidding. So in this case, there's no other vendor that can.
There are
meet
some
those
other vendors
specifications?
if we bid it out, but then we'd have to replumb everything. The units aren't, this is
So by using the same equipment like for like.
like for
we'll
like, the
save money in
installation
the long run.
is easier.
Yeah.
No, it'll meet the sole source exception, assuming that that's the only vendor that can do it with the equipment that we already have. So that's if that's what you're telling me, then I can be fine with that. So thank you.
Okay.
Are there any questions? I'm sorry.
You're fine.
Are there any questions for Mr. Jacobs? Ms. Davis?
Is this an emergency also?
Is this an emergency?
Yeah, if we can do it this year, it'd work out better.
Okay.
But
Any other questions? Seeing none, I'll read the committee report. We have considered the purchase of a hatch turbidity and lab turbidity meters for the water pumping plant and recommend that the request be an emergency. And this is an ordinance authorizing the mayor to enter into an agreement for the purchase of said equipment for the water pumping plant. Can I get a motion, please?
So move.
Second.
It's been moved and properly second. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Thank you, Mr. Jacobs. There is nothing else on the agenda for this evening. May I get a motion for adjournment, please?
So moved.
It's been moved and properly second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Good night, everyone.